Hello, this is saxophonist Antonio Parker, and this is A Conversation in Jazz, where we are promoting jazz through telling the stories. Our guest today is one of the rising young contemporary jazz vocal talents on the music scene today. She is also a composer, arranger, and educator, and was a featured member of Howard University's premier jazz vocal ensemble, Afro Blue. Please welcome the lovely Miss Christie Dashiell. We ask you to like, comment, and subscribe to the channel. Hit the bell icon so we can let you know when we are posting another video or going live. We also ask you to donate to our Cash App in order to support the channel and help us to produce future videos. Our Cash App is $Jazzology 101. That's $Jazzology 101. Enjoy the video. Hi, this is saxophonist Antonio Parker, and this is A Conversation in Jazz. Today, we have one of the outstanding young contemporary jazz vocal talents on the music scene today. She was a featured member of Howard University's premier jazz vocal ensemble, Afro Blue, and has established herself as one of today's rising vocal stars. Please welcome educator, composer, and singing sensation, the lovely Miss Christie Dashiell.
Oh.
That's a mouthful, right?
That's so nice.
Welcome to A Conversation in Jazz.
Thank you. I'm excited to talk.
I've been like looking, at some of the stuff you've been doing. You're doing some great stuff.
Oh, thank you. I'm trying, or I'm doing my best to just...
you're doing it.
Make some music. I like the alliteration, singing sensation.
Yes,
That's
you
nice.
are.
I like that.
So I want to know a little bit more about you,
Yeah.
and I guess we want to know a little bit more about you. My first question is, what has this road been like being Christie Dashiell?
It's been great. It's been challenging. I mean, I come from a very musical family, so I think the road has looked like trying to establish myself as my own individual.
Gotcha.
But also embracing that part too, because I think for a while I was like, no, I don't want to be known as so-and-so's daughter or so-and-so's sister. But now that's become such a big part of like who I am, so I'm embracing it.
Yeah. I got a best friend, Munir Nasser, and he's a trumpeter, but he's a jazz historian. His father was a bass player who played with Train, Jamil Nasser. He just wrote a book on his father anyway. And he has a brother that plays alto, Zaid Nasser, who's a great alto player. And so I always thought if my parents was great musician, that would be an advantage.
Yeah. I think it is. I definitely know that there are things that I've been able to do because of my dad, because of my brothers, because of my mom, my sister. Mm-hmm. But I think when I was younger, I kind of looked at it as maybe I thought that it meant I was less talented and only got certain things because of my parents. And so it made me, for a while, feel like I wanted to establish myself separate from that. You.
No, that's cool.
Yeah.
I see it as an unfair advantage.
I mean, yeah, I do. I think that's why for so long I was like, I don't want people to know who my dad is because I don't want people that to be the thing I lead with. Like, oh, this is so-and-so's daughter, so she's going to get this opportunity because of that. But I have seen it very clearly as an advantage in a lot of ways.
But you're definitely blazing your own trail. So I want to let you know that.
Thank you. I don't struggle with that as much now, just because I'm a little more grounded, I think. But when I was a little younger, I really, that was a challenge for me.
Wow.
Yeah. Thank you for saying that.
Yes. So where are you originally from?
I was born in D.C. and
you were born in D.C.?
Yeah, I was born in D.C. and then I grew up in Greenville, North Carolina. So I considered, I went to school and stuff in North Carolina, so that's more, I think, where I'm from. But in terms of what feels like home, both North Carolina and D.C. feel like home.
So you have family here in
yeah,
D.C.?
All of my family, except for my parents, are in D.C.
Okay. Is your dad from Both your parents?
Both my parents were born and raised in D.C.
Wow, I didn't know that. See?
Yeah.
See, we learning something here.
Yeah.
So when did you move to Greenville, North Carolina?
I think I was 2 when my parents moved down there. So I have no memory of, growing up in D.C. And then, we would spend summers here.
Gotcha.
But, all of my growing up happened in North Carolina.
And what was it like growing up in North Carolina?
It was cool. It was very quiet. The art scene it's more vibrant now than I remember it being when I was younger. I think my dad had a lot to do with building that art scene, especially in Greenville. But also it was a lot of racism. And so that was something that like really kind of shaped me.
You saw that?
Oh yeah. In all of my schools, elementary, middle, high school, it was, dealing with racist teachers, racist parents of my friends, all of that. So I think I had an extra sensitivity to like racism as I grew up because of seeing that so vividly in my life.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's heavy.
Yeah. Yeah.
I know your dad. I knew your dad like when I came to Howard. I came to Howard 87 back in the day.
That's not back in the day.
Yeah. Your dad was before that.
Yeah, he was before that. Yeah.
But Carol Dashiell. He's Mr. Carol Dashiell Jr.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
So his grandfather was senior. Did you know Granddad?
Oh yeah, my grandfather. He's Carol Dashiell Sr. And he actually went to Howard also. He wasn't a musician.
Okay.
That's not true. My grandfather sang, and I think he sang in a male a cappella ensemble. Maybe that's where I got the a cappella thing from. But he's senior.
Wow. But I remember your dad as not only being like a great bass player, but he's always a very cool, nice guy.
Yeah. Really.
Always had a just, and I know he might have the other side, but always just a nice cat,
Yeah.
Yeah. But what was it like coming up with a father who was an in-demand touring bassist?
Yeah, he was touring a lot when I was like maybe 10 and under. So some of my memories of him touring are like a little, the older I get, the less and less I remember.
Yeah.
But I do remember seeing my dad on the road, seeing him teach, seeing him play, seeing him practice. And I knew at a very young age that was exactly what I wanted to do. Like I saw it and I was like, I want to be like my dad.
Wow.
I want to do that.
You want to tour?
Yeah. I remember seeing him, like, one of the memories I have is us taking him to the airport. And this was before 9/11, so, you could go to the gates.
Yeah.
And also the airport in Greenville is very small. So we would, watch the plane as he would leave. And I was like,
wow.
Man, I want to do that.
Yeah, wow, that's cool.
Yeah.
And I was reading, when he would go on tour, the kids would write little notes and stuff them in his travel case.
Oh, yeah. We would do cute little stuff like that. Or like when he would come home, I remember once we threw him a welcome home party.
Really?
All this kind of cute
beautiful.
kid stuff.
Yeah,
I think that's what ended up making him kind of come off the road and teach a little more.
I don't think I've ever met your mom.
Oh, really?
Yeah, I don't think I've met you. What's your mom's name?
My mom is Rhonda Dashiell.
Okay.
And
is she a musician?
Yes, she's an amazing vocalist and piano player.
Oh, wow.
And she and my dad actually met at McKinley Tech, I guess, which was the arts high school in D.C. And so that's...
Did she go to Howard as well?
No, she didn't. She went to Virginia State. Virginia Tech's the big school. She went to Virginia State, the HBCU.
Okay.
Yeah.
Beautiful.
Yeah.
So, you come from a musical family. You have a lot of siblings.
Lots of siblings.
We're gonna talk about some of your, at least get to see who they are.
Yeah.
But did you get a lot of love coming up? Was there a lot of love?
Oh yeah, lots and lots of love. My parents were very intentional about making sure we knew we were loved and well taken care of. I mean, sometimes it came from my dad, especially from a tough love place. Especially once we decided we wanted to become musicians, the tough love turned up.
Yeah.
I mean, it was love nonetheless, but
I
definitely knew that as a kid.
Now, did they Are there any standout lessons that you received from your parents that you carry with you today?
Yes. I think, in terms of music, seeing my dad play with so many different musicians, I think I understood the importance of like excellence and versatility and hard work.
Yes.
Those are, I think, three things that really I saw my parents really, they were all both very hardworking, could move and shift and shape shift into different roles, and
Beautiful.
they just, everything they produced, it was excellent and is excellent.
Beautiful.
Yeah.
That's what we need.
Yeah, especially if they don't play.
And it pays off.
Yeah, it does.
And, to lead by example. And, so I try to do that for my kids, but I don't know.
Yeah, I mean, if that's your intention, I think.
We see. So who are your siblings? How many siblings do you have?
I have 3 siblings. I have an older sister named Christie Dashiell, who's an actress and educator. She's also can sing, dance, write. I mean, she's so talented. Then my older brother, Christie Dashiell, who's right before me, CV, drummer,
CV.
educator,
Incredible drummer,
amazing drummer.
Yeah.
I mean, he's my favorite drummer there is.
Yeah.
Then my younger brother, Christian, who I think is probably the most talented of us. He's a bass player, composer, arranger. Wow. He's one of the ones that he can play everything.
Really?
Yeah, he can play every instrument and all that stuff.
So are y'all all close?
Very, very.
Y'all stay in touch and everything?
Yeah, I talk to my siblings, especially CV. CV and I are really, really close. My other siblings and I are very close also, but I talk to CV probably every day. And then there's never a week that goes by that I'm not speaking with my sister.
Wow.
Yeah.
So what was it like coming up with y'all all play music?
All of us, yeah.
What was it like coming up in that type of environment with siblings who did y'all fight over the piano?
Yes. It was great though. It's like sounds fake and phony, but we legitimately used to fight over who got to practice. Like my dad and mom always had a practice studio in our house, and so we could record in there, but it was mostly about practice. So we had every instrument. We had drums. We had keyboards. So many basses. Still do whatever you needed. And so I used to play violin also, so we had violin and guitar and everything. So it got to a point where we used to be fighting over the piano, and my parents had to make us a practice schedule that's still up to this day.
Wow.
My parents still have it on the wall, and it's like, Cameron, 1 hour. CV, 1 hour. Christian and I, my little brother and I, only got 30 minutes because I guess we were younger at the time. But we got hip and we're like, yo, if we combine our 30 minutes, we'll get an hour. So we used to practice together.
Wow.
And I think that's what ended up making me.
Were y'all famous in the neighborhood? Did y'all play together as a group?
Yeah. My little brother and I, Christian, I don't know why I call him little because he's a grown man.
Yeah. That's all right.
But he's still, you know how it is.
Yeah,
He's still my little brother.
Yeah.
We had a group called Two Figures, and because we used to get paid like $25 for these gigs, and we were like, okay, we make 2 figures, and it's 2 of us, and we used to.
What was the name?
Two Figures.
2 Figures.
And we used to go around town playing at country clubs, at little private events, and
wow.
it was fun.
Did you all study music formally, or
we did? Yeah, all of us were
private
in
lessons and all
some
that?
sort of lesson. Yeah, I took violin lessons, and kind of through my brother and sister, inadvertently took piano lessons, and then my sister took piano lessons. CV took piano lessons and drum lessons, percussion lessons, and then Christian took bass lessons and percussion lessons.
So you started on violin?
I started on violin. I guess violin was my first instrument that I got like serious about.
Okay.
Yeah.
So when did you get serious about the voice?
Voice was always there. Voice. Okay, let me rephrase that. Voice was my first instrument. But I don't think I knew I could really sing until I got a little older. So I started playing violin, and then I got really good, and did a couple of competitions and played in orchestra, and then I lost interest and started playing piano and singing, and then I started writing music,
Wow.
and then I was like. The violin was collecting dust, but I was on that piano and singing all day long. And I think maybe after 4 or 5 years of playing violin, I realized singing was really what I wanted to do.
Wow. Beautiful. Now, let me ask you a question. Do you think all of you inherited some musical DNA from your parents?
Yeah, absolutely. I think, you know, in the most humble way I can say, I think my parents and their parents passed down, you know, the gift of music. And I think it really chose us as opposed to us choosing it. I think, it just kind of manifested in different gifts, but I do feel like whatever musical instrument we picked up, we would have been really disciplined and good at it because of the gift.
So music came easy for you?
Yeah, it did.
Yeah.
It did.
It came hard for me.
Yeah. Yeah.
Some things came easy.
Yes, some
came
things
hard.
came easy. Other things I really had to work at. I think just like maybe my sound, my ear, those things kind of were already there.
Yeah.
Or certainly, like when I was young, going to my dad's rehearsals, I was building them without knowing. And so when I studied music more formally, it felt like, that's kind of there and solid. But other things were more challenging, like rhythm.
What about reading?
Reading, I think reading for me has always been a muscle. Like, I've had to work at, like, being a good reader. And if I'm not reading, my reading goes down. But when I'm reading a lot, it's really good.
But your ear
my ear was always pretty solid, I think.
What was your practice regimen like?
As a kid, my practice regimen mostly was me playing piano, trying to figure out sounds that I liked. It was all about like what I liked hearing. I was trying to also like understand how to read chord changes a lot. So I was practicing like what chord changes were, what scales were, all those.
As a young kid?
As a kid, well, because I think once we decided we were going to be musicians, my dad was like, you have to learn all your scales. You have to learn all your major and minor scales and all your time signatures. Yeah. And so I remember being put on the spot one day at dinner, and my dad was like, it was a B-flat major scale I'll never forget. He was like, what's a B-flat major scale? And I couldn't say it. Like, he asked me to say the letters, and I couldn't. And then he took me to the studio and asked me to play it, and I was shaking, and I couldn't. And so it was at that point I was like, I'm going to learn all my scales because I'll never want to be embarrassed like that again. So I, as a kid, spent a lot of time practicing skills.
Now, were you born with a natural singing voice, or did you have to cultivate your voice?
If you talk to my mom, she says it wasn't very good when I was a baby. She said she was really worried. Like, all my other siblings all had really nice voices. Really? And I was the one that wanted to sing but couldn't sing.
Get out of here.
Yeah. And so I think it took me a while to find it. I think around high school I was starting to say, okay, I see something here. And let me work it out.
But you can actually develop your voice?
I think for the most part what I have is what I have. But I do think you can train it and exercise and expand things, and for sure.
Oh, okay. Did you sing in church coming up?
Yes, I did.
And how did the church inform how you express your music in other styles?
I think just the spirituality and soul that comes from church singing is always present. Hopefully, is always present in my music. That's my goal. Yeah. Also ear, like the ear, because, jumping in the choir, having to sing alto today. No, sing soprano, sing tenor. I was singing tenor. I was ready. And I was like, oh, man. So, having to jump from part to part, I think, informed my ears and all that, learning those hymns.
And in school, you played music all through school, elementary?
Yeah, we played music elementary. I think elementary, I played in orchestra and sang in choir. Middle school, I sang in orchestra and sang in choir. And then high school, I put down violin and mostly was in choir. Okay. Yeah. Oh, and I was in jazz band, too, in high school. Yeah.
You was in jazz band?
Yeah, I was in jazz band with Christian. We were...
Yeah.
Yeah, we were together.
What kind of music did you listen to?
And everything.
So what was it? The 90s? Was that your, or the 2000s?
Maybe I would say I'm a 90s baby, but I don't remember. I feel like 95 and on are probably like the most vivid memories for me. Okay. So I was in middle school. the 2000s, right? Yeah. So those are the really strongest memories to me, like 2000.
The Miseducation of Lauryn Hill.
No, I wasn't quite. I think I was a little young when that came
That was
out.
around what? That was 99.
Oh yeah, so I was 11 in 99. So I was like a little little young. and also my parents, like, they were very progressive, but we were kind of sheltered too. So there were certain things that they made sure we didn't know were out. And I think that might have been one that but I mostly listened to, honestly, like bubblegum pop. I loved like NSYNC, Backstreet Boys, all of Britney Spears, all that kind of music.
Yeah.
But my family was listening to like real deal stuff. So I was getting it, I think, from being on the peripheral, like hearing what my dad would play, hearing what my mom would play, hearing what my brothers especially would play. They were listening to all kinds of hip stuff. Yeah.
Was the neo soul piece coming around?
Yeah, that was. Yeah, so I started, the older I got, high school, I was listening to Jill Scott, Erykah Badu.
Yeah.
I listened to a lot to Mary Mary, and I remember getting into Donny Hathaway in high school, getting into Layla Hathaway. I was starting to listen to Sarah Vaughan in high school too. So as I got older, my what I was listening to got a little bit more elevated.
Do you remember when you first got interested in jazz?
Yes. I remember picking up, it was, Sarah Vaughan's Finest Hour, that series of records, like So-and-so's Finest Hour. And I picked up Sarah Vaughan's Finest Hour. One summer we were here in D.C. We went to, what was the record store? Was it
Tower?
Yeah, it was Tower Records.
Yeah.
My dad gave us like 30 minutes. He was like, y'all can go in there. Y'all get 30 minutes to pick 2 CDs. And I got Sarah Vaughan and Donny Hathaway. And
Did you know who Sarah Vaughan was?
I did. My mom was like, you need to listen to Sarah Vaughan. I think you'll like Ella. And I was listening to Ella, but she was like, you really need to check out Sarah Vaughan. And I wore that record out.
It had an impression on you?
Oh, I remember when Sunny Gets Blue was on it. Like, just hearing, that record, like, changed my life. That must have been middle school, probably 7th or 8th grade that happened.
So when you heard jazz, you were already playing chord changes and stuff like that. Yeah. You were in a jazz ensemble, right?
Yeah.
Did you know you would... And let me ask you this. Do you consider yourself a jazz vocalist or contemporary? I don't know what it is now.
I know, it's hard. Yeah, I think I do. I consider myself a jazz vocalist. Okay. I think...
was that your intent? Say, okay, I want to focus on jazz?
Yeah. Okay. I think once I got to... I would say 8th grade, because I think 8th grade was around the time I started sitting at the piano trying to play chord changes. I got that Sarah Vaughan record, trying to put 2 and 2 together, what I was hearing in my dad's rehearsals, hearing my brothers play, and like kind of formulate an awareness of jazz. I think it was at that point that I was like, I want to be a singer for sure. I want to go to school for music. And I think in high school, I was like, I want to be a jazz singer.
In high school?
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. And would you say Sarah Vaughan was your biggest influence at that time?
Definitely early on. Sarah Vaughan was my #1 favorite jazz singer.
Okay.
Yeah.
So who else are some of your biggest influences?
Vocally, like jazz specifically, or anything.
Period.
Like, okay.
Like who helped to shape? Christie Dashiell.
Sarah Vaughan. Mary Mary, Donny Hathaway, Ella, Carmen McRae later on in my life, Shirley Horn later on in my life, Stevie Wonder later on in my life, Layla Hathaway, Liz Wright later on. I have so many. I feel like it keeps, because I went through different like eras too.
Gotcha. Yeah.
Like middle school, I was listening to so-and-so, high school, college, grad school, later on, and like,
So is your style, did you take a little bit from this?
Every single person. Yeah. I feel like if you listen to me closely, hopefully you can hear every one of those people in something. Hopefully. Yeah.
So do you have perfect pitch?
No, not at all.
You don't? Any of your siblings have it?
Yes, my brother has a Christian.
Really?
Yeah. We would test him and be like, Christian, what note is this? And like put our elbow on the piano, and he'd be like, F G. He like
really?
he could, he would be like,
that just,
what?
Yeah.
It was crazy.
Oh, wow. Now, where all your siblings are not in D.C., are they?
Mm-mm. Christian, my younger brother, is still in North Carolina.
Okay.
And then my sister and my older brother, CV, are up here.
Okay.
Yeah.
Wow. That's something.
Yeah.
So how did you cultivate your ear?
I think going back to church, I didn't realize what an impression church left on me musically until I think once I got out of college. Or maybe while I was in college, church definitely helped strengthen my ear. And I don't have perfect pitch, but I think like because I'm a singer, I think most musicians that are practicing musicians can tell and feel.
Yeah, you can feel it
where the note is.
Yeah.
So it's like I know where things are based off of how they feel, and I think church is what helped really like ground that.
And how did you develop your rhythmic and timing sense? You have I've noticed you have that. You good with that too.
Thank you. That's something I really have to work at because I don't think it's like a natural. Like harmony is a little bit more natural to me. I think because of church. Rhythm is something that is like something I have to be really intentional about working on. So there are like exercises I use when I'm practicing. I think, okay, I want to approach this like, maybe put a triplet here. Like I have to work at that a little harder, I think.
Yeah, that's what's happening.
Yeah.
Now, what are some of the challenges you faced as a musician? I know you had some things that come easy, but were there anything that's really challenging for you?
Rhythm is one of those. I lucked out because it's like God gave me a brother that's so rhythmically advanced that like I can talk to him about rhythm and meter and feel.
You're talking about CV.
Yeah. Christian too. I mean, but CV because we spend more time together. Like I'm always asking him. Sometimes I listen to things, I'm like, I can't tell where the beat is. And he sits me down and tells me like where this is, and then I have to go practice. Or he'll point out, and this person's solo, they use this rhythmic figure here. Why don't you try it? I'll sit down and practice. I remember there's what record is Herbie where he like turns the beat around. I mean, he does it all the time. But it's one song in particular where CV and I were checking it out. He was like, practice this. So rhythm is something I really, really have to work on.
It's good to have a brother that you could.
I got blessed because what would I have done without? I don't know that I would have been able to explore and figure some of these things out.
Beautiful.
On my own. I mean, there's so many things I'm challenged by. Lyrics. Even though I'm a vocalist, it's not. I think over time I've become more cognizant of like the storytelling aspect of the music, but it wasn't something that immediately grabbed me. What grabbed me about singing was harmony.
Wow, that's heavy. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
Did you do a lot of transcribing solos?
Yeah. I did a lot as a kid, like, again, inadvertently. Like, I didn't know I was transcribing because I would hear things. My parents would be playing music in the car. Over and over again, we would hear it, and then I would end up, like, knowing the solos.
Yeah. And these are, like, instrumental solos.
Yeah, these are instrumental solos. But then in college, at Howard, the program at Howard is very, like, transcription heavy. So I transcribed a lot in college.
Beautiful. Yeah. What are the benefits of transcribing solos?
I mean, you learn the language.
Yeah.
My mentor and teacher, Kanatron Miller, would often say at Howard, our textbooks are the recordings. Like, in some schools you have a text for your improv or a text for your applied lessons. But our text is the recordings, and that's how you learn the language of jazz. And, I guess the challenging part is starting to integrate that language into your everyday speaking.
Expression,
expression.
Do you remember your first jazz gig?
Yes, actually, I do.
Really?
I do. Okay, well, like, you mean serious jazz gig or like jazz gig period?
Well, what's the first one you would say?
The first one I remember,
it could be a jazz gig. Wherever you were performing, do you remember your first one?
Yes, I must have been about 9 or 10. And it was at a family cookout function, and my dad was playing, some incidental background music, and I got to stand up and sing a song, and I sang "Summertime," And what I remember so vividly, I remember being really short and chubby. Like I remember like how my body felt in the space I took up. And then I also remember singing "Summertime," and like taking all day to get up to the note. And I did it every time I sang that. Summertime.
Really? Wow.
Yeah. Who knows what I was.
So do you remember the first gig you got paid for?
Some of the first gigs I got paid for were with my dad too.
Okay.
But I think outside of my dad, what were my first probably sometime in college, like, you know, kind of trying to figure my thing out here on the scene.
Yeah, like most of us.
Yeah, trying to figure it out. You know, maybe it was Nema or the Caverns or somewhere. But
now, do you get nervous when you perform?
Yeah.
Really?
Yes. Yeah.
You still get nervous? You don't seem nervous. You don't seem like you.
Yeah, I get very nervous.
Really? Yeah.
I mean, which makes me happy because it means that I'm like, it means something to me. Like I'm invested in it. Yeah. As opposed to if I wasn't, I would be a little scared if I wasn't nervous because it would mean maybe I'm taking it for granted.
Gotcha.
Now that, you know, we're sort of in like a strange post quarantine world where we're performing, the nerves have gotten even more intense.
Wow.
I think. Yeah.
Yeah.
Do you get nervous?
Do I get nervous? Well, you know, I've learned, you know, as you get older, you learn how to, like, I go into, like, the way I work, I go into like a, like entertainer. I like character. If I mess up, I keep on going. I'm not afraid to make mistakes, and if I do, I know I've made enough of them
to know how to recover, right?
Or to just know tomorrow's still going to be here.
That's true.
So I'm not as. I fell on my face so many times.
Me too.
I still, and what I do is, I get nervous because, like, I don't call it nervous, but I get anxious. I don't get nervous, but I get anxious because I literally don't. I deal with it from a spiritual thing. I don't know which spirit's going to be trying to knock me off my horse today. You know.
That's what I can relate to. I think. Yeah, I need.
You know,
like I get nervous right before I go on, and I've tried to, you know, like be mindful of a spiritual practice before I perform. Yeah,
I started to now. I gotta pray. Like even when I do this, I pray because them unseen forces be just trying to, you know, come at you. Yeah. Like, and you be like, you think they be. I've been fighting this stuff my whole life.
Yeah.
I remember one time I was at we were in Chicago. I was playing with the Philadelphia All City Jazz Band with Christian McBride on bass and Jody Francesco, and I'm playing lead alto, and I literally get up to take a solo, and we've been adjudicated, all these bands from different places, and my horn just pops off. The keys pop off my horn in the middle of my solo. The keys pop off in the middle of my solo. So I had to borrow somebody else's horn to finish the performance.
Gosh.
So I always, it's a thing called Murphy's Law.
Yeah.
I don't know when Murphy gonna come keep it up on us.
Murphy be trying all of us. I promise you.
Yeah. So I that's what I'm anxious, have been anxious about. But you know, as I get older, I don't have to be perfect.
Yeah.
What I want to be able to do is to do my best.
That's right. Yeah. If
I can do that.
Yeah.
And then I'm the kind of guy that I know when I did a good job and I know when I didn't. So some people, you know, want validation from, you know, I guess the audience. Yeah, man, that's good, you know. Yeah. But I'm self-validating in
That's
sense.
amazing.
Yeah, and so and you get that in life because when you done tripped and fell so many times,
Yeah. I hear you. I think I'm starting to get there. Yeah. I think I'm starting to be able to like understand my greatness. For a while, I used to think, oh, it's arrogant to, you know, be confident and blah, blah, blah.
Oh, no.
But like I finally started to understand what my greatness is. It's not always my voice. It's just being.
Yeah.
And like not needing as many people to tell me I'm good. I used to need to hear that.
Yeah. That's a place you have to, because we, when you come up, you want to please your parents. You wanna please the teachers. But then you have to get to a point where it's like, you just, Mr. Irby told me one thing when I was on campus. One time I was on Howard's campus, he came up and he said, all men are not created equal. And that, like, I was like, voila. That, like, I'm like, oh. So what that told me was that I don't need to compete with nobody.
Yeah.
I'm not in competition with nobody because I'm a unique, and I begin to find my uniqueness and become.
That's real.
Yeah.
That's
and so
real.
once you like your thumbprint, once nobody can be you like you.
Can't nobody do you better than you.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So when he said that took a lot of trying to fit in, trying to please this person, because people may like this person because whatever, or they may like this, or they may choose this person for whatever reason. So, I believe we all have a competitive advantage if we find it.
Yeah.
So,
we all have something.
Yeah.
Yeah. I think for me, the nerves definitely, for a big part of my life, came from like the expectation and not letting my parents down, especially.
Yeah.
Or like, if, somebody sees me and knows my parents, they may say that
she
wasn't on her game.
Yeah.
And so I'm finally starting to let that go. Like, finally.
It happens, it's a journey.
It's a journey.
And so, you just, but tomorrow's coming, you keep moving. I've had some moments that I had to go somewhere and cry because I was so.
Really?
Yeah, I've had those
After
moments.
gigs?
After a performance or gig, or I forgot where I'm at in the changes, and I'm lost. And I was so embarrassed. Oh man, I've been there. And
I've had some good cries after.
Yeah.
No, you know what? I hate crying.
Yeah.
So like I don't allow myself to cry knowing good and well I want to cry. I remember very vividly, speaking of competitions, doing the monk competition, and I wanted to win so bad. Like I wanted to win so bad, and I remember when I didn't. When there's a point in the competition where all the semifinalists line up and take a picture.
Yeah.
And I remember I wanted to cry so bad.
Yeah.
I was just like,
yeah.
I couldn't even smile. I was like,
yeah.
But my dad was there. I had a couple friends there, and I was like, Christie, you cannot. You cannot. I think I eventually called my husband and did cry.
Yeah.
But
Well, see, that's why I don't, even those like competitions, because it's like, I've seen them more competitions. Yeah. And anybody could have won.
Anyone can win,
The person that won don't mean they the best. Yeah. That's why I say nothing is fair, nothing is, it's just and so it could be political.
Right.
And so I don't even let that define me.
Yeah,
so,
yeah.
I say, okay, because I get my reward. I've been blessed, and you've been blessed. Yeah. And unfairly, when I tell people that I've been a U.S. ambassador to 7 countries in Africa.
That's crazy.
That I didn't plan on that, but that was just for me.
Yeah.
And so that's how I look at it. My blessings, when God bless, so I don't look for no competition. And if this person got it, okay. So I don't get caught up in it.
I wasn't in that space at that point because I wasn't so much younger than I am now, but enough where at the time I had my eye on the prize.
I've been there. I've been there where I was very competitive.
Super
and I didn't
competitive.
win. Oh man.
And when I didn't win, it felt like I wasn't good. Like I as a person wasn't good enough. Yeah. And so I went through a whole.
Yeah. So when Irby told me all men are, that means everything is not fair. Yeah. And all you do your best. Yeah. God gonna bless you. Yeah. And give you no man can take. No.
That's facts.
Yeah.
That's facts, because I also have had experiences where, like you said, stuff will just fall in my lap and I'm like, I didn't do anything to cultivate, to build to this, to deserve it. And it's just like, God had that for me.
Yes,
at
that's
that
the
time.
unfairness of favor.
Yeah, that's favor. It's favor. Favor is not fair.
Exactly.
That's why I be telling people too. I be like, listen, don't look at my life and get jealous.
Yeah.
Because it doesn't have anything to do with me.
Exactly.
It's some favor that I don't have anything to do with.
All you can do is what you do.
Yeah.
But that's the secret to that people, very few people get to that because they're always looking outside of themselves and want to covet somebody else's stuff. Some God bless this person with this, he bless this person with this, he bless you with this, and you just enjoy the blessings and they be thankful, you know.
Yeah.
And the older I get, the more thankful I am because I don't take nothing for granted.
Yeah.
You know, I'm glad I can wake up and like, especially going to places like Africa and seeing places where people are living some harsh realities. I'm very thankful to be in a place where I can wake up and follow a thing called a dream. So that's how I live. And as I get, the older I get, the more, I think the older you get more spiritual.
You do, because you realize like it can't, there are other things at play that make things what they are. Like,
So, you know, but we just keep on living.
Keep on living.
Let's talk about Howard University. Okay.
Hate you.
What year did you come to Howard?
I came to Howard, my freshman year was the fall of 2006, I think.
Okay.
Yeah. I graduated in 2000.
And what made you choose Howard?
Well, my dad went to Howard, so I knew I wanted to go. My grandfather went to Howard also, so I knew I wanted to go. But then I heard a compilation disc and Afro Blue was on it, who's the vocal ensemble at Howard.
Yeah.
And when I heard it, I must have been 15, 16 when I heard it, I was like, I want to sing in that group. And so I was like, Howard, okay, I'm going to Howard. That's what I want to do.
And you had some siblings that went to Howard.
Yeah, CV went to Howard.
CV?
Yep. So...
Okay. You didn't have a sister that went to Howard?
No, my sister went to A&T.
Okay. Okay.
Yep.
And what was, everybody that comes to Howard in your time, it's a certain flavor on the in the yard. What was the environment like for y'all? Because when I came to Howard, we stayed in the practice room.
Yeah.
So, and we had some players.
That era. I feel like the 80s, boy, that was like a golden era.
They had even the 70s. You know, Warren Shad. We always talk about who had the best.
The best era.
HUJE. So, but
what
they had
feel?
Jerry Allen and so they had some.
I think my dad was around.
Yeah, your dad.
Time.
Yep.
Who do you think was the best?
87, 93.
When you were playing lead outside?
Actually, I wasn't playing. Kevin Levi was playing lead for the most part. Okay. When he graduated, then I played lead. But it was just, we had great, we had Chris Dave, Raymond Angry, this cat named Mark Batson, who's producing all these, you know.
That's a crazy
Kevin Levi. Time. We had some talent. This Ravi Best, who's playing with Earth, Wind, and Fire. We had great musicians, and at that time, people wanted it.
Yeah,
we like there was. When I came to Howard, man, and I was crazy. I used to be crazy. Like I had no filter. I wanted to stay called music. I stayed to practice it, and so what was the environment like for y'all?
I mean, I think there were those of us that, like you, really wanted it, and then there were those of us who weren't as serious. And I think I'm a serious person in general. I'm learning to lighten up because sometimes I'm too serious. But especially in college, I was very serious, and I was like, "Oh, I'm about to get good. I want to be great, and so I want to do the things that ensure that I can be great." And so I was always in the practice room, and I had most of my friends who were in Afro Blue, especially. We had like a friendly competition, like, oh, if you're gonna be in the practice room for 2 hours, so am I. So it was kind of that energy. And then my brother was also practicing a lot too. So I think there was an energy that was just like, oh, my friends are serious, I'm serious, and let's go. But then there were some of us that weren't too. Yeah,
you always gonna have it.
Yeah.
So, who were some of the professors that had a significant impact on you at Howard?
Definitely Kanatra Miller. She and my dad have been the best educators I've ever experienced.
And we're gonna talk about her because she's that Afro Blue is just oof,
I
it's
mean,
something.
just now that I'm teaching quite a bit, when I look at how she teaches, the pedagogy of it all, I'm just like, she's a genius. Like, she is a master educator.
Wow.
A master educator. Jessica Settles, she really left a huge impression on me because she was and still is to me like the young, hip, cool teacher that's really relatable.
Yeah.
And she would always like, I remember she took me out to see a concert once, and I was so excited to go spend time with her.
Mm-hmm.
She would always introduce me to new music.
Mm-hmm.
They were, I think, the ones that really left the largest impression on me.
Yeah. Was Jerry Allen there when you were there?
She was doing a lot of work with Afro Blue, so I got to work with her quite a bit when I was a student. And she was one of the artists that would come in that I remember being like, wow, we get to work with her, you know?
Yeah. Okay, so let's talk about Afro Blue. So they were already established before you got to Howard.
Yeah, I think when I got to Howard, Afro Blue had been going, I think they started in 2002, if I'm not mistaken. So Afro Blue had been in existence for about 4 or 5 years when I got there.
Wow.
Yeah.
And what was that experience like for you?
So I remember auditioning for the group my freshman year, and I didn't get placed into it until halfway through my first semester at Howard.
Wow.
So I remember like being really disappointed that I wasn't in it, but also sitting under Professor Settles and learning. Singing in her group was really great for me. I needed it. And then so shortly after, I was in Afro Blue, and from then on, I was just so excited to study with Professor Miller and just like learn all the harmonies. You know, that really helped build my ear because I was singing alto, mostly alto too. And so like I had a lot of like the really crunchy notes where I would be a major seventh from the baritone, or, you know, some like really crunchy harmony that I was singing. And so that was great.
Now, I listen to y'all, and I mean, you know, and I go back, take 6. I went to school with Boys to Men too, so they.
Oh, right, that's Philly, right? Yeah.
And I was watching y'all were on that show.
The Sing Off.
The Sing Off, and
Sean Stockton.
Sean.
Yeah.
And I remember Sean from high school.
That's
and
crazy.
He was a little choir boy.
Yeah.
But they were their harmony, they're tight. But that was a performing arts school, but I was just thinking, like, wow, those harmonies, like, who comes up with those arrangements?
Miss Miller writes a lot of them. Sometimes she'll get arrangements from other groups and kind of rearrange them too. So she's generally doing most of the writing. Sometimes she'll take students and use their writing, but also kind of rearrange it too. So when I was in school, Professor Miller was doing most of the arranging. I went to school with Reggie Bowens. He did some. And I think Afro Blue sang one of my tunes, one of my arrangements. But it's just genius what Professor Miller is able to do.
Now, is it very competitive to get it, to be a part of that?
I think so. I think most people, now that I'm teaching at Howard, I can see that most students really most of the singers really want to be in Afro Blue.
Yeah.
So it can kind of be, you know, like, eye on the prize when I audition. I want to be a ghost, but like, you know.
Well, you can't come there.
Oh, you got to be serious.
Yeah.
You can't.
Yeah.
Because in Afro Blue, it's the level of excellence that is required of you. Yeah. Not just like musically, but just like professional development wise. Like, you need to be on time to rehearsals. Yeah. You need to be reliable. You can't be a flake. Like, there's a lot.
It's like a team.
Yeah.
It's like a team. Yeah.
You can't be playing when you are in Afro.
So what is Miss Kenatra, Professor Kenatra Miller? What is she like as a teacher, a professor? Like,
I mean,
is she demanding?
Very much.
Uh-huh.
I mean, and I think she, similar to Irby, has one of her philosophies is like, this is not intramural sports or, you know, community. Like, sometimes you have people that are stronger in certain areas and work harder, and so they get the solos, they get the, you know. Yeah. She's very much like about, if you work hard, I'm gonna work with that. But if you're not to say that if you aren't working hard, that she's not going to help lift you up, but also she requires her students to be serious, and she's serious.
Wow.
Yeah.
Yeah. And y'all were on the this NBC, the Sing Off. I mean, that was. Yeah, I mean, what was that experience like?
Well, I mean, it was like one of those once in a lifetime experiences where, like, you're on this reality TV show competition, which is crazy in and of itself. And then we flew to LA to film this show in Hollywood. Like, it's a whole lot of Hollywood going on. Yeah. The magic of TV was, we got to see
it
that.
It came off because I'm looking at y'all. Made y'all sound great, but y'all look like stars.
We look like I mean, we look like stars. There were so many things that went into that. Like, psychologically, there were some things too that I saw happening that I was like, oh, this is what happens to people psychologically when they're in this sort of space. Like, I remember, like, to be really candid, I remember feeling like, oh, I need to watch what I eat because I'm gonna be on camera. Like, seeing how that starts to really kind of play with your head, like, I'm not really eating today because I want to fit into what wardrobe has for me. Yeah. It starts to really
wow. So you got to see some of that Hollywood, the background and all that. Wow, that's beautiful. Now, you have received recognition in DownBeat magazine Student Music Award as Outstanding Soloist and Best Vocalist. Was that something with the Howard University Jazz Ensemble?
Yeah, I think I got that. I got that with Afro Blue. I think my junior and senior year at Howard, and I think I got one when I had graduated too, when I was in grad school. Okay,
that's with Afro Blue. Okay, because I know they a couple of students with the Howard University Jazz Ensemble back in the day. Yeah, they got the award.
Yeah. I think CV got one too with the Jazz Ensemble.
So did you record with the Howard University Jazz Ensemble?
I did 2 songs with them, and I forgot until CV brought it back to my memory recently. I recorded 2 songs with them, maybe my second or third year at Howard.
Beautiful, yeah. And so you did undergrad at Howard, and you graduated, but then you also went to the Manhattan School of Music.
Yep, I took a year off in between, and at that time, we filmed the sing-off, and then I went to Manhattan School of Music for grad school.
In New York?
In New York, yep.
Oh, wow. And you graduated from both schools?
I did, by the grace of God, because I didn't think I was going to make it at MSM. I was ready to leave. Because when I got there, we were still filming the sing-off, so I got to school late, and it kind of messed me up in terms of, like, getting my bearings together. I didn't have time to get acclimated to the city or get acclimated to the school. So I remember flying from LA to New York, going straight to class, and I was just like, whoa, this is intense. Like, they were talking about, like, chromaticism our first day of class, and I was like, who? What? And so that was, also I didn't have any friends. I was dating my husband too. And so I was just like, Mom, I think I'm going to leave. I don't think I'm going to do this. But I made it.
You made it through.
I made it, yeah.
So you, how many, was that 2 year? Like a 2 year?
That was a 2 year program.
So you were in New York for a minute.
I was in New York. Were you hanging out on the scene? No, not really. I didn't start hanging out on the scene until I graduated. Strangely enough, I didn't start hanging on the scene until I moved back to D.C. And then I would go to New York, do that bus trip, train trip, and be hanging. But when I was in school, again, I was so serious and, like, focused that it was all about being in school at the time. So
now you're an educator. You teach at Howard?
I teach at Howard, Temple, and UDC.
Oh, really? So,
yeah.
Well, okay.
I'm all over the place.
Wow. So you see the blessings.
God is good.
Yeah.
God is good.
What is it like being an educator? Being on the other side of it?
I mean, I think, I'm learning even more on the other side.
Yeah, no doubt.
Which I did not expect. I'd always heard, like, if you're not learning as a teacher, you're not doing it right. But I was like...
Yeah, that's true.
But the truth is, like, I learned so much from my lack of awareness sometimes. I learned so much from my students. It's great. It's challenging.
Do you have a musical philosophy?
I think I'm finding it.
Okay.
I'm finding it. I'm like finding what my teaching philosophy and musical philosophy is.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know if I can put it into words. I know part of my teaching philosophy is embracing gentleness and awareness through teaching. Musically, I don't know. Mm-hmm. I don't know. What's your musical like? What does a musical philosophy really look like? I guess.
Well, my philosophy is music. Like Bird said, music is life.
Yeah.
You have to live. If you don't live, it won't come out your horn.
Mm-hmm.
You know, my teaching philosophy is I always taught life through music, but I taught elementary school. Mm-hmm. So my job it wasn't about music. Mm-hmm. It's about teaching these young people, mostly in the hood.
Yeah.
Where I taught, teaching them life skills, discipline, how to work team.
Yeah.
You know, just little value system of practice. You know, now I started teaching. I'm at Bowie.
Oh, okay.
Trying to build up their jazz ensemble.
Yeah.
And what I've noticed is that the generations are different.
Yeah.
So you have to, you know, like the things that like that was said to us. You can't say.
You can't say. That's why I understand gentleness is
Yeah.
really very much important in this.
Yeah. So I had and I had to learn that because everybody has different temperaments, and you have to. But I'm a cool cat. And I've always been cool.
Yeah.
And I've learned in teaching in the hood. So I had to have tough skin, and I had to be patience, and you know. But what? And I'm going to ask you this: do you find that the students you teach have the same level of seriousness and dedication that you had?
Not all.
Yeah. So
I think, generally speaking, I see less of those than I do. That's sort of the.
Yeah. So, and I noticed that too.
Yeah.
So. I teach more from a motivational, like excellence, like even beyond music. Because when you get people to just develop a standard of excellence in whatever they do, whether it's music, you know, that mindset of excellence, then they'll take what they do, hopefully, more serious.
Yeah,
So.
that's true. Yeah. Now when you put it into words, I think I'm noticing as a teacher, a lot of the work I do is psychological.
Yeah.
And of course, I'm teaching lessons. I'm teaching bebop and scales and harmony and rhythm and blah blah blah. But a lot of the work is like
motivating,
tuning into like what's going on with them for the day, and you know, as singers, getting them to understand like our body is our instrument, so you really have to, you know, take care of it.
Yeah. So.
Yeah.
Now, were you part of Betty Carter's Jazz Ahead program?
Yeah, I did that in 2010. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. You know, I was on the very first one.
Whoa.
Yeah.
What year was that?
It was had 92, 93 around there.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, I mean, the very first one.
And she was there.
She was,
yeah.
So I performed with, you know, Cyrus Chestnut.
That's amazing.
Brian Blade, Gregory Hutchison. It was just, you
crazy.
Know, it was, I didn't feel like I belonged. Ruben, Rod, all these cats that doing Clarence Penn, all these cats that doing all this stuff now.
That's crazy.
So
you definitely belong.
Well, I've been blessed, but it was good for me.
Yeah.
But we had a blast.
Yeah.
It was a great time. It was a great hang.
Yeah.
Did y'all have the same?
We had so much fun.
Yeah.
We had so much
fun. The hang is off the chain, right?
And at the time, I didn't know what the hang was.
Yeah.
I didn't know. I was this young, naive little baby girl. I didn't know. But after that, I was like, yo, this is great. I hope I get to keep doing this.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was fun.
Yeah, it was like a fraternity, like a diners road. Yeah, it was great time.
Yeah, we had some really great, I think a lot of the young ones that are out here doing it, like Marquise Hill, we've stayed in touch after Jazz Ahead, Jameson Ross. Mm-hmm. Like a lot of some of my favorites were in it.
Beautiful.
It was fun.
Now, you've performed and recorded with the great Wynton Marsalis and Jazz at the Lincoln Center. Mm-hmm. Now, how'd you get connected with all that?
I don't know.
Favor.
I mean, okay, so when I think about the steps, I can give you like ABCD steps. Mm-hmm. So when I went to grad school in New York, one of my classmates at the time was Christian N, a really great piano player. And he was doing a lot of work with Jazz at Lincoln Center. We were like two of maybe three black students in our program, our year. And so, of course, we got close because of that. It was like, he's the only brother here. I'm just, you know. Yeah. And so he was like, oh, do you want to do this Jazz for Young People thing for me? I'm doing it with Jazz at Lincoln Center. So we did that year. And I just that's when I started working with Jazz at Lincoln Center. Then I did their residency at their club in Doha, in the Middle East. And then I did two residencies at their club in Shanghai. And I did some things at Dizzy's. I did a couple of like their, Raynell Frazier, she was interning at the Kennedy Center when I was doing Jazz Ahead maybe. And so we connected then, and she ended up working at Jazz at Lincoln Center. So she always kind of kept me in the loop as far as gigs. And then one random day, after like hearing Wynton's name, like it was a year, maybe 2019, 2018, before COVID, and we were all on the road quite a bit. I kept hearing Wynton's name come up, but in a strange way, in a way that made me feel like, wow, I'll never have a chance to work with him. Like in a way that made me feel so very far from that. And so I had kind of that was one of my dreams, of course, and I had kind of just been like, well, it'll never happen. It was the same year, though, that I worked with him, which was like God was putting his name and that energy in my awareness. And so one random day I had got my hair done. It was the summer I was chilling doing my thing, and I got a message like, we're looking for a low female voice for one of these projects that Wynton is working on. Are you available? And I was like, excuse me, what? And I like, try to play it cool. It's like, I have to check my schedule, Of course, I like emailed 5 minutes later, like, yes, I'm available for these dates.
Wow.
And, then it ended up, he liked what we did so much, he decided to record it.
Wow.
So, yeah.
And y'all did the Ever Funky Lowdown. And I watched everybody wear that.
Everybody wear their mask,
Yeah, that was, wow.
Yeah, that was cool. And, we did a short. We performed it once in like upstate New York, so it was cool to kind of, for a couple of days, be on the road with them and see how,
Were you nervous?
So nervous. I mean, I was so nervous. I was nervous to meet him. I had met him before, like, at a distance, but I was really nervous to, like, see him and him recognize me as, like, a performer. Yeah, but he was so cool.
Yeah, he's cool.
Yeah.
Well, when I met him, he was a different kind of cat back then. He was very, but I was holding back tears when I met him because he told me I wasn't serious.
Oh my!
But I know what he's talking about.
Yeah.
Because he would always tell you, well, pull out your horn like young people.
Yeah.
And let me hear what you're dealing with.
Yeah.
Let me hear what you're dealing with.
Yeah.
And I played my little Charlie Parker licks, but at the time I was a Charlie Parker fanatic. And he said, "Man, you need to check out such. You ain't serious, And I'm like, I got a picture of this. I'm holding back tears because I'm like, what do you mean I ain't serious?
I am serious.
Yeah, I just didn't know.
Yeah.
And so, but I understand now what he was talking about. I was just into Charlie Parker at the time.
Yeah.
I didn't want into the jazz history and the Thelonious
Monk
and all that other.
Because sometimes, I understand it, at that time you don't really know what serious looks like. You don't know to trace. To go a little deeper. Yeah. And
he was trying to help me. Yeah. But I took it personally. I was like, I'm not serious. I've been this, but I want to do.
What do you mean I'm not serious? Yeah. So, I think I met him at a great time a little later on in life. And he, it was also great I think sometimes I had felt overlooked at that time. I want to think about that time period.
Really?
So it was really nice to hear someone that I respect so much, like, really say such, like, good things about what I was doing.
Very encouraging.
Encouraging, but also like not like BSing either. He would tell the truth too.
Yeah.
But also like that's why I knew what he said. I think he had said something about he was like, you're really soulful. Your sound is rich. And I think that meant a lot to me because I had heard, like, as a jazz singer for so many years, oh, you're, like, too soulful, you kind of sing too much R&B and soul in your sound, you gotta. And I didn't know what soulful meant at the time. I thought soulful meant soul runs.
Yeah. But
But I didn't know that soulful meant something deep down inside of you. And so when he said it to me, it was the first time I understood what that meant. And I knew because he had also told me, like, you're not singing this part right. That when he said what he said, he really meant it.
Yeah,
he wasn't just throwing it out there.
Yeah. You also did you work with Sweet Honey in the Rock?
Oh yeah. I sub with them from time to time, which is great.
That's great. They've been around for a minute.
We celebrated their 45th anniversary in LA in 2018. So this was right before.
How'd you make that connection?
Just kind of through, I don't know, so Romir Mendez, my homie brother who also plays bass in my group, he was playing bass with them, and I think we were playing at Dizzy's once, and he invited a couple of the members, and they came, and they were like, oh, you think she would sing with our group? And I was like, yeah, of course.
That's what I'm talking about. Yeah. That's how this thing works.
That's how it happens.
Yeah,
it's just
it just happens.
It just happens, and it's like your relationships with people. I think for me, I've seen like doing my best to be a good person. Firstly, like a decent person with morals. Also, like being timely, learning the music.
Yeah.
Not
all the things your parents instilled in.
Yeah. All the things, that pays off in the long run. Like not flim and not, doing silly stuff on the coming dressed,
Taking care of business.
Taking care of business. Yeah. I think that has served me well.
Wow.
Yeah.
So you mentioned that you also lead your own group.
I do.
Is under your name?
Yeah, it's the Christie Dashiell Quartet. And, I've sort of gotten away from that just because I've been performing with other people. Yeah, but it's the most special group to me. So describe your music. My music is very much rooted in, I think, the tradition of Black music. Like, you're going to hear some jazz, you're going to hear some R&B, you're going to hear some soul. I think for sure at the center of it, you hear what's reflective of, I think, like the bebop language. Yeah. But that is my music. And hopefully my music is soul-stirring and just makes people feel. Yeah. Something. So in that context, do you do a lot of originals? I do. Writing, composing is very important to me. Yeah. I think. Like I just want to kind of keep the music going, and so my originals. And you have your story that you want to. You have your own unique story. Yeah. You have an approach to how you write a song. I think from era to era it changes. I think at one point I was so into harmony that all of my music was really like harmonically. Yeah, you had to stretch your ear. Yeah, it was all about stretching, taking long, extended solos. Yeah. And then at one point I was like, I'm a singer. Let me get into lyrics. And then the lyrics became the more central focus. Now I'm kind of in a space where whatever the spirit puts on my heart is what comes out. It's less about like fitting into a jazz mode, fitting into a soul mode, fitting into an R&B mode. It's just more about like beautiful. Yeah. What comes out at that time. Beautiful. That sounds good. I just want to read something to you. Okay. You mentioned about the 2015 Thelonious Monk thing. Okay? Oh, yeah. Now, in 2016, however, you released your solo album. I did. Time All Mine. Time All Mine, yeah. What's the concept behind Time All Mine? So I, like so many people, don't believe in time being as linear as we kind of make it as humans. And so the concept of the song Time All Mine is about my experience with time, my experience with change, my experience with space. And then that became the title of the album because I think all of the songs sort of deal with time, space, love, like as a whole. So yeah.
Wow. Yeah, I was listening to it. It's you. It's so unique.
Thank you.
That's keep doing what you're doing.
Thank you. That means a lot.
And it debuted on Billboard jazz album and contemporary jazz album charts at 13 and 20 and 22.
Yeah, which wasn't the goal. Like it wasn't the goal at all. Actually, I didn't plan on releasing an album. My brothers were like, "You need to release an album," and I was like, "Okay." So we went to the studio and recorded it, and I was just like, maybe this will shut them up. Like, I recorded it. Finally, they'll be quiet, and it was just funny how just the spirit continued to make it happen.
Yeah,
and
beautiful.
So it happened. I ended up releasing it, and the goal was just to put the music out.
Yeah.
And then my husband, who's like really good at he's like a great thinker. Mm-hmm. He knew what to do to get it.
What's your husband's name?
Ray Jala.
We gotta give him some love. What's his name?
Ray Jala, my boo.
Ray. Yeah. Got to give husband some love.
Yeah, he can't just be husband. Yes, it's Ray. Yeah.
Oh wow.
Yeah, but he helped kind of make that happen, I think.
Wow. Yeah. You're doing a lot of great things. You were featured artist on Blue Note Records, Supreme. Is that
Sonacy?
Sonacy.
Yeah.
Volume 1.
Yeah.
What's that?
That was I think a compilation record that the Revive. It's like an arm under Blue Note.
Okay.
They put out, and this was actually my first session in New York. I connected with Marcus Strickland through the Baylors, who Gene Baylor has been a mentor of mine, and Marcus Baylor have both been mentors. Yeah. And so they connected me with Marcus Strickland, and he was like, "Hey, I really like your sound. You're really soulful." Soulful kept coming up. Yeah. "You're really soulful. I want you to sing this Janet Jackson record that I'm like arranging." And I was like, "Okay, cool." Yeah. And I remember being so nervous. I was shaking in the booth.
Really? Wow.
Because it was like the first time I had ever recorded in New York. And
wow. I think I saw. Did y'all do something at Bohemian Carriage?
Oh yeah.
Yeah, I think I was at
that. Might have been the first time I played with him.
Yeah.
Yeah.
With Marcus Strickland.
Yep. That was that was right around that time, and I think after that we went and recorded. Yeah.
Now, who's Helen Sung?
Oh yeah, Helen Sung is a piano player and composer, arranger.
You perform with?
That I performed with. She released an album called Sung with Words, where she took Dana Gioia, am I saying that right? Yes, Dana Gioia's poetry, who was the poet laureate of California, I think. She set his poetry to song. Okay. And so I was one of, I think, 3 singers on that record. And so we ended up like touring that project for a couple years.
What about Twilight?
Twilight, that's Marcus Strickland's group.
Okay, so, that's the name of his group, Twilight.
Yeah, so I worked a lot with Marcus and Twilight, and that's been great.
And Otis Brown.
Otis is a great drummer who actually was like one of the first people after I graduated from grad school that I played with. And so I worked with his band for a while too. Mm. Yeah. Wow.
Wonderful. You are, and this is just the beginning. That's the thing. This.
Thank you for saying that, because sometimes I be feeling like I'm old and like
as you get older, and I'm not gonna say I'm old because I still got some.
That's right.
I got more to do there.
Yeah, that's right.
But you can look back, and you see that I left a legacy.
Yeah.
Like when I did my first CD to I did my second, and the beautiful thing about it is that legacy is that you letting people know you were here. So your legacy will survive you. So the things that you're doing, a lot of the things that you're doing now is going to have more significance in the future.
Later on in life, yeah, that's true.
So just keep doing it.
Yeah.
Just follow the step. That's just you on the path. So
as you go along the path. I remember someone told me, it was a substitute teacher in grad school, like a career is the thing that you stumble along the way. Mm-hmm. And now I understand what that means. It's like, I'm starting to do enough things where I can look back and be like, oh, wow, that's kind of cool. I did do that. Yeah. But I forget, I think, because I get so focused on I'm not good enough. I need to be,
don't
that,
like
all
that.
of that stuff.
Yeah. So. Just keep doing it. And this, like I said, this is just the beginning. You know,
Thank you.
so
Thank you.
beautiful. Final questions. Do you think you will ever do a family CD with all your siblings?
We actually did. We recently, my dad put out an album called Lineage.
Oh, wow.
And he put it out this spring, and it's got all of us on it.
Really?
Yeah. And,
Lineage?
Yep. And it was giving very much, the energy in the studio was giving very much family record. Arguments happening in the booth, people storming out.
Really?
We didn't speak for a week after the record.
Really?
All of that. I remember one was like, "Dad, you're just so mean."
Wow.
And walking out.
That is so.
But you can hear how much love.
So we can find that on the internet?
Mm-hmm.
Lineage?
Lineage, yep.
Is it under your dad's name?
Yep, it's under my dad's name, Christie Dashiell.
Okay. Now, so does he say Carol Dashiell?
Oh, yeah, he says Junior. Yeah.
The Junior? Okay. Carol Dashiell. Okay. All right.
Yeah.
Beautiful.
Yeah.
Now, you mentioned your husband. Now, how do you manage being a wife and a performing artist?
I had to take a side because it's hard. It's really,
Yeah.
really hard.
Yeah.
I don't know how well I'm managing. I mean, that's a question for him, maybe. He might be like, she's failing.
Yeah.
I don't think he would say that. Actually, I think we're just learning what it looks like to, support each other, but also be present too, because that's ultimately the most important.
So you want to have any kids eventually?
I don't know. I don't know where I stand. I know my husband really wants children.
Okay. Yes. Yeah.
It's hard. It's hard. But I'm grateful to have at the end of the day a partner that's like, he's so supportive and loves me so much. I don't know what I did to luck out on a man that loves me.
Beautiful.
So
that's
much.
how it's supposed to be.
Yeah. But
Yeah.
Yeah.
Good. What's next for Christie Dashiell?
What's next? I'm actually gonna go to Egypt shortly, like next week.
Wow.
Yeah,
Really?
I'm so excited to be my first
been
time
to
in
Egypt.
Africa. Yeah.
Yeah. I don't want to give it away, but it's like stepping out on the moon. Like you look on another planet.
Really?
I actually went up in the pyramid.
I want to go.
Yeah,
to
it was fascinating.
Yeah.
So good. Yeah.
Yeah.
All the blessings.
It's a quick trip. It's like 6 days, but
That's okay. We went to see the mummies and all that.
Oh,
It's
wow.
really heavy.
yeah.
so-
I'm really
yeah.
looking for. That's why I got my braids done. I had to get my braids done so I could be in Egypt.
Beautiful. Yeah.
And I'm going with a group that I really love their music, Ajoyo.
Now y'all going to visit the pyramids and all that?
I'm hoping so. We have. It seems like we have kind of a busy schedule while we're there, but I'm hoping we can find time. For
Let them know. Say how you gonna go to Egypt and not go see the pyramids?
We gotta
do that.
We have to do that. So that's coming up in the near future, like next week.
Okay, beautiful.
And then I have I got a grant that is funding my next project, hopefully, and so I'll be recording some music in the next year, which is exciting.
You've been writing?
I've been writing. I actually have been dealing with this song the last week or two, actually the last month, that I have not been able to finish, but it's like a lament, and I'm hoping to include that on my next project.
Beautiful.
Yeah.
All right. So our last question. You ready for the last question?
No, I don't want to leave.
We can be here all day.
I know.
How can people contact you? And you can look it right in the camera.
Oh,
and
this is my time. You can contact me. I am on social media at Christie Dashiell on Instagram, Facebook, and Christie Dash on Twitter. You can also reach out to me on my website, christiedashiell.com. Yeah. That's it.
All right.
Yeah.
Well, this has been an amazing interview.
Thank you for
I'm very
this.
grateful. Thank you for sharing your time with us and some of your story. This has been. I really enjoyed our conversation.
Thank you for having me. I've enjoyed talking with you too.
Hopefully we can do something in the future. I always write something. I say I'm thinking Christie Dashiell. So
we've done.
Yeah.
I always listen to Unity. That one.
Yeah,
I'm hoping we can do more stuff like that.
Yeah, I'm actually thinking about working on a project. So want you to come in and,
Keep
and
me,
bless it.
keep me in your thoughts.
Yes.
Yeah.
So, but thank you.
Thank you.
And we wish you the best in all that you do. And
Thank you.
Continue success.
Thank you.
You know, and yeah. So we be waiting for the next thing.
Thank you so much.
Thank you. All right, there it is. You've been listening to the lovely Miss Christie Dashiell, and this is a conversation in jazz, and we'll see you on the next one. Beautiful. Yes.